Hey guys, Dan here. I want to talk to you about a lightning build here for the wizard in Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls and with the new patch. Build is based around a couple of things, and I'm going to talk about the build and the skills that I'm using, and then we'll show you some gameplay. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm doing electric lightning damage using the passive skill Paralysis, which gives me a 15% chance to stun. And the idea is that we're mitigating damage by stunning enemies before they even get a chance to do damage. I'm using Electrocute Surge of Power so I can get some arcane power back to use Meteor Lightning Bind. Now this is a Great Ruin Lightning Bind because you're doing a lot of damage. You're doing 501 initial damage, percent of weapon damage, and then you also have 167% weapon damage over 3 seconds. So that's 55% damage per second. So if you crit, then that's also going to stay on the ground, that damage on the ground for 8 seconds, which means you're doing 445% damage over 8 seconds. It's also going to immobilize those enemies for 5 seconds, which is pretty awesome. You'll see that comes into factor into our gameplay here. Other skills that I'm using here, I'm using Wave of Force, Static Pulse, which all enemies that are hit by it, they're going to do 15% additional, or rather they're going to take 15% additional damage from any lightning spell that I use next. So whether it's Electrocute or Meteor, both of those are going to be enhanced. I'm also using Familiar Arcanot for Arcane Power Regeneration. We've seen that Arcane Power doesn't quite spend like it did before the patch, or as it will in Reaper of Souls. So we want to be able to utilize the most of our spender Meteor. Also using Magic Weapon Electrify, which gives us a chance to hit 3 other enemies and do electric damage. Also going to slow them down. And Energy Armor, Energy Tap. I'm using this particularly because it gives me armor bonus, which is going to mitigate some damage, and it also allows me to cast 4 meteors before I have to let my arcane power recharge or use Electrocute. Dominance is pretty key here. You know, life steal went away, so we're using Dominance to get that shield up and mitigate some damage. And then we're also using Blur, also just some further mitigation of damage. One of the other options that you have with this build, and probably is going to be the best way to go about it in Reaper of Souls, is to go ahead and use Black Hole. With that Black Hole, you're going to be using Supermassive, which adds lightning damage and also gives a chance for Paralysis to go ahead and stun those enemies. One of the other options that you can do here, if you want to play a little bit more of a kiting build, is use Slow Time Shell, which is going to reduce the movement speed, and you'll see that's going to allow us to use Meteor really effectively when either enemies are stunned or have reduced movement speed. So Time Stretch for the reduced movement speed or Point of No Return is going to give a stun on entering and exiting the slow time. So right now I'm going to kind of show you how this build plays using the current setup with Static Pulse. So you'll see when I encounter enemies, get a group going, Static Pulse, gonna make them take additional damage. Also with Stun, you can see that guy's stunned, I'm able to do a lot more damage there to him. Pretty easy to go ahead and kill those guys, and they're part of an elite pack you can see here. And here is our buddy, so let's go ahead and do some damage to him. You'll see that I obviously got a crit hit because that's staying on the ground and he's taking additional damage. See, I'm able to kind of tank a little bit using Dominance, but it's very difficult to use that in elite packs. So there you go. I'm using a combination of Electrocute, Stun, the Static Pulse to increase damage, and of course Meteor Lightning Bind to go ahead and do that damage and stun further. So let's talk a little bit about gear here, because there's some gear changes that have happened, and you actually have some plus damage based on specific gear that you're utilizing. So let's take a look at that. As you can see here, something that gives plus damage to cold skills, plus damage to fire skills. So a lot of that is going to come into play when you see people putting these builds together, so something to keep in mind. Obviously, I'm showcasing a lightning build here, so that's going to be a little bit different. If you take a look at my belt that I'm using, currently offers 15% more lightning damage. So let's take a look at the other way to play this build with slow time. I like time shell for the movement reduction and speed, and also the cooldown reduction. It gives it 3 seconds less cooldown. Alright, so let's see how this plays. You'll see Comet is very effective in combination, because these guys now aren't moving. They're just sitting there. They have no choice but to get hit by Comet. So that's, once again, I'm going to use slow time here. And that's really how you play it with slow time. Thanks for checking out my build, guys. I hope you guys really liked it. If you did, please leave a comment. Let me know. Also, fire build and cold build to come. So thanks so much for watching, and enjoy playing Reaper of Souls.